What's happening? Thank you for tuning in to the show tonight. Of course, I let you guys know that I would be on my show today and that I would kind of dive into the breaking news that we all heard this afternoon, and that's Aaron Rodgers. It's officially official as Aaron Rodgers was finally traded from the Green Bay Packers to the New York Jets. And of course, Ryan Thomas here. You're tuning into the Thomas Take Sports podcast. And, I'm really excited to dive into this because I think there's a lot of different wrinkles to this news that I think is worth exploring. And a lot of it, I've even found myself somewhat correcting myself when discussing Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets and kind of looking at this trade and looking at why the Jets made this move and why the Jets felt like they needed to make this move. I don't question, why the Jets felt like they needed to make this move. I question which Aaron Rodgers the Jets think that they're actually getting. That's the questioning that I have, because this is not the same guy that he was, 3-4 years ago. This is not the same player that got two back-to-back, NFL MVPs. This is a different quarterback. And I think it's more up here than it is, in here, in the throwing arm, rather. I think the skill is there. I just question mentally whether Aaron Rodgers is still the same guy that he was, 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. A lot has happened over the course of the last couple of years in the career of Aaron Rodgers. And I want to break down this trade first and foremost. I'll get into Rodgers as we go on here. But the impact is threefold in terms of this trade. And in terms of the people that tune into my show each and every time I'm on this podcast, coming to you live on Facebook or YouTube, or whether you tune into the show after the fact on the audio side of things, you guys been great. When things are really good for Ryan Thomas, you guys are tuning in. When things are not so good for Ryan Thomas, you guys are showing your support to me and to many other people that revolve, within the wheel that is my life, that is always churning and always moving. And I want to, send out a thank you to everybody that reached out in the aftermath of the most recent news in my life, the passing of my grandmother Stoll. I want to send everybody a heartfelt thank you, first and foremost, for sending me their thoughts and prayers, sending me their condolences personally, whether it was Facebook Messenger or tweeting or DM, Instagram, text. Some even called me. I really appreciate it. And I know my family appreciates it as well. She was a very special lady, and she really supported me in everything that I wanted to do and achieve involving this. So it means a lot, and she'd be really happy to know that you guys and gals out there showed your support for me in times that were very trying, that have been trying. And that's a process that'll continue to be difficult as I move through it. But I really appreciate you guys, showing your support for me when times are good and when times are not so good. It means a lot. And it's good to know that you guys are all out there, showing your support. So I want to dive into the aftermath of this trade and the impact that it's going to have. And I talked about that impact being threefold impact. Impacts the AFC, impacts the AFC East, and impacts the National Football League. And I'm going to kind of go through how this Aaron Rodgers trade impacts all three of those things. First and foremost, we'll leave the AFC East for the last discussion, because I think that's the one that people will tune into the most. And I want to have all you guys trickle in here, show your support, hop on, share this video. Feel free to share it as well. This podcast is available on YouTube and Facebook, so feel free to check it out there. Feel free to let your friends know. Feel free to let your folks know. if they're looking for a new Buffalo Bills podcast, new sports podcast, feel free to let them know about the Thomas Take Sports podcast and show your support. I really appreciate it. So, what is the NFL impact on this move? Anytime you have a marquee player like Aaron Rodgers going from one team to another, you're going to be hearing about this in terms of the National Football League. How this trade impacts the National Football League, though, is very deep because this trade featured movement within this draft. In this draft, we're 3 days away from the National Football League's draft 2023. And to break down the trade compensation per source, Adam Schefter, worldwide source that is Shefty, one of the best in the business. I think the best in the business, to say the least. Breaking down the trade, the Packers get the 13th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, a 2023 second-round draft choice, which is a 42nd pick overall, and a sixth-round draft pick, the 207th pick in the 2023 draft, and a conditional 2024 second-round pick that becomes a first-round pick in 2024 if, in fact, Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps, which, barring anything crazy, I would assume that Aaron Rodgers is going to get 6 snaps with the New York Jets, barring anything absolutely nuts. So how does this impact the National Football League? It impacts the National Football League in terms of those picks moving around the way that they are, and if I were to go to the ever trusted site that is tankathon.com and how this impacts the, NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers leapfrogged a team. They leapfrogged a team going from 15 to 13. They leapfrogged the team that picked with the 14th overall pick, that being the New England Patriots. And the Patriots are well known to be looking at a wide receiver. The Green Bay Packers are well known to be looking at a wide receiver as well. So being that Green Bay leapfrogged the Patriots, I'd like to think they did that with a calculated risk and a calculated reason that they were more than willing to take so that they could move and leapfrog a team that they knew needed a similar position to them. Bravo to the Packers for recognizing that, making that a 15 for 13 swap, and putting themselves inside the top 15 rather than, the 15th overall pick. And I think this is an opportunity for Green Bay to build around Jordan Love in ways that they might not have quite as built as well around Aaron Rodgers as they should have. And maybe we will see that this time around for Jordan Love. Hopefully for his sake, they do make that happen. Now, in terms of the NFL impact, the AFC is mostly impacted by this move. The NFL impact, the NFC no longer has Aaron Rodgers in it. And as we're now 2 days, 23 hours, 46 minutes and counting away from the NFL draft, I'd like to think that the NFC tonight is resting their heads on their proverbial pillow, knowing that they don't have to worry as much about Aaron Rodgers. Despite what I said, Aaron Rodgers can still be a factor as a quarterback in this league. I don't think he is as good as he was, 2-3 years ago, but I do believe that he's a pretty damn good quarterback when given the opportunity, of course. And he's going to get the opportunity in the AFC to now be the quarterback that most think he can be. I question that, whether he can actually be that guy again, that MVP caliber player again, but only time will tell. That goes into the next sort of impact that Aaron Rodgers can make in terms of the AFC. Now, this drastically changes the AFC. And I say that for the simple fact that the AFC is already undergoing drastic changes these last 2-3 years. You look at where Cincinnati was 2-3 years ago. You look at where the Jacksonville Jaguars have risen, how they have risen. You look at even as far as the Buffalo Bills these last 4 or 5 seasons, the Bills couldn't make their way into the playoffs for 17 years, and all of a sudden are how the Kansas City Chiefs, who have obviously become somewhat of a dynasty over the course of the last, 4 or 5 years. So the AFC, I think, is only going to get better. And when I look at the AFC in terms of this move, the Jets are putting themselves in the conversation of contendership in the AFC, a team that is a force to be, reckon with. Keep our eyes on the Jets in the AFC. And I think that adding Aaron Rodgers does put them in that conversation. Will it amount to what the Jets believe it can amount to? I don't quite know that. I don't know if I fully, wholeheartedly believe that the Jets are going to be like a Super Bowl contender like Dan Orlovsky. But this move, you'd be crazy to not say that this move does not make the Jets a little bit better, if not much better. You'd be foolish. I'd be foolish to say that this move doesn't make the Jets better. It does make the Jets better. They're going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. It's going to make them better, but the version of Aaron Rodgers that the Jets are getting, I don't quite know if it's the guy that they think they're getting, and they might find that out the hard way. That's the other side of the coin to this entire conversation. But my allergies are kicking in. I apologize. But I do believe that when I look into the AFC kind of Rubik's Cube that it is, the Jets will find themselves in that because there are teams that you have on your calendar that you don't really feel as confident playing as you used to. Or there's teams on the calendar that you do feel more confident in playing against those teams. I think the Jets fall in line somewhere in the middle. The Jets are that team that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, but when you get their best, you damn sure get their best. And now they got a guy in Aaron Rodgers that might rally the troops a little bit harder than Zach Wilson. So you could see more weeks where the Jets are more dangerous because this defense is very good. You could see more weeks where this offense is more dangerous because Aaron Rodgers has been an NFL MVP multiple times. So it changes the dynamic of the New York Jets. It changes the dynamic of the NFL. It changes the dynamic of the AFC East. The pecking order is much different today than it was, 24 hours ago. And let's be honest, let's be real. Bills fans, Dolphins fans, Patriots fans, they knew that this news was coming. This news was only a matter of time before this happened. This has been in negotiation for 6 weeks. So how does this impact the AFC East? First and foremost, these teams play each other, twice a year. Who does it impact in terms of who does it impact the most? I think it impacts all three AFC East teams collectively, one more than the last. But if I were to pick one team that it impacts the most, I would say it's the Miami Dolphins, because these last few years, it's been well known that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the division. I don't see that changing despite some of the changes on the roster. Tremaine Edmonds gone. Obviously, they're trying to finagle their way into adding some players with a very tough salary cap situation, but they still have the best talent on their team, on their roster, that is consistently on their roster. Whereas the Miami Dolphins, a lot of new pieces. I'm not saying that that's not going to work, but we don't know if it's going to work yet because it's new. The Bills have been bringing back the same players each and every year. They have a consistent model of success that has led them only so far. That has to change for their sake, but they know how to get there. They just need to finish. Whereas the Dolphins haven't got there with who they got. Jets haven't got there with who they got, and the Patriots haven't got there with who they got. So in terms of who this changes, it's like, okay, the Bills are the number one team in the AFC East. They've been that these last few years. The Dolphins were really the best team at changing that outcome, where now the Jets might be the 1B to the Bills 1A, or the 1B2 to the Bills 1A, and the Dolphins 1B1. You're looking at a deadlock tie for second place in the division as far as that pecking order goes. those are the two clear-cut twos in the division. Which team is better? It's a quarterback-driven league. You guys know this as well as I do. Tua is one slip away from never playing a down in the National Football League. Aaron Rodgers is 1 or 2 years away from never playing in the National Football League again and riding off into the sunset as a NFL Hall of Famer. So the long-term outlook on both of these teams is kind of bleak, whereas the long-term outlook for the Bills is not, and the long-term outlook for the Patriots, how much longer is Bill Belichick going to coach? So the long-term outlook for the Patriots is bleak as well, but short-term, this makes it very interesting in the AFC East in terms of the competitive flow, the competitive power that the division carries. And I think the Dolphins and Jets are going to be neck and neck this year. That's a rivalry that I really want to sink my teeth into prior to the 2023 season. I think that's going to be a hot rivalry. I'm not saying that the Bills won't be impacted by this move. This does impact the Buffalo Bills because it makes the Jets a better team. How much better of a team will it make the Jets? We don't know. How much better of a team will it make the Jets in comparison to the Buffalo Bills? We don't know until those two teams toe the line. I do know this, judging from last season, the Buffalo Bills had a ton of problems with the New York Jets defense in not one game, but 2 games. And that was a tough defense, and the Bills were playing against a not-so-tough offense, and they went 1-1. Now their offense in New Jersey for the Jets is going to be much, much better with Aaron Rodgers leading the way. How much better? You still got the majority of the same weapons around him, but obviously the quarterback being better even at 38, 37, however old he is much better than Zach Wilson. So all in all, I truly believe that this impacts the AFC East the most out of any three-prong impact that this news has. And I believe that it does cement the Jets as potentially the second best team in the AFC East. I still have Buffalo winning the division. I'd love to see the Vegas Rodgers impacts that news, impacts that betting line. I still think this is the Bills' division to win or lose, however you want to look at it. But the Jets did get better today, and they got better today by 48 hours away from the draft. 72 hours, 3 days away. How many hours, how many days? We're 2 days and 23 hours. It's basically 3 days away, right? Draft's at 8, Thursday. We're here Monday. We know the news. That's what makes the NFL fun. These are trades that shake up the NFL, shake up the AFC, shake up the AFC East. And, of course, that's where this impact lies within this move. I really look forward to seeing what Green Bay does with their pick. And, of course, why did this trade take so long to get made? It's finally official. What was it that kept this trade from happening? It was the simple fact that Aaron Rodgers was kind of taking himself out of the trade, saying, Jets, you do what you got to do to go get me. Take your time. Don't settle. Name your price. Get your price. The Green Bay Packers, they did not want to give up 2 first-round picks in writing, so they had to come up with some sort of tricky way for the Green Bay Packers, or for the Jets, rather, to agree to a trade that could potentially mean 2 first-round picks or an extra first-round pick or a swap for a first. You get a second and then another first next year. Well, 65% of the plays have to be snapped to Aaron Rodgers in order for the Green Bay Packers to get another first-round draft choice next season. And I believe that that's what will be given up when all is said and done. Barring a disaster, that's what I anticipate. This being a move that gets the Packers a swap, which includes them moving up 2 spots in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft, a 2023 second, a sixth in 2023, and a first in 2024. The only thing preventing that and making that being a second is the fact that Rodgers could play less than 65% rather of the snaps. I highly doubt that. Packers got a lot for a aging quarterback that didn't want to be there. The Jets really got nothing to lose. Their quarterback situation is terrible. They made a drastic move drafting Zach Wilson second overall over guys like Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Crazy. There you have it.